This last week, we did say that obviously we're not. Accra is affected because it still houses the business part of the mining industry. It's still and those things, and we'll get a sense from the mayor, the honourable mayor, how that works. Okay, but Mohammed ni Adjei Sowah is the mayor of Accra and leading member of the New Patriotic Party. I'm going to start by talking a little bit to him about. I want to talk about something that's come up in the newspapers. I know he doesn't want to talk about it, but this towing away of people's vehicles, and whether or not they should be towed, to tow or not to tow. So good morning,
Good morning.
Mayor.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I am doing great, and good morning to your wonderful listeners out there.
So, Honourable, what is the situation with towing? There's been complaints. And there will always be complaints. But there's been complaints that, in certain parts of Accra, that the people who are working, the ones who do the towing or the movement away of cars or the clamping, they are a little bit abrasive, a little bit too eager to make money from moving people's cars and things like. Have you heard anything like that?
Yes, I have, and let me say that an enforcement of discipline in the city sometimes is met with some resistance. And when you have a citizen who is also not responsible enough and does not want to respect a uniform officer, unfortunately, sometimes it degenerates into some of these altercations. But really, to broaden the conversation, the essence of car clamping and towing is to instill discipline. People park at unauthorized places, and at night sometimes it leads to accidents in the city, and that's what we think. Sometimes it leads to traffic situation. Just yesterday, I went around town, and I had to disguise myself and wore a cap. And I walked around Mokola, Ukanshi, everywhere for about 4 hours, and with a friend of mine, just to observe. And one thing I realized was that the traffic situation in the city largely was not caused by the traders, but it was caused by these truck drivers who parked sometimes in the middle of the road just to get passengers on board, and sometimes aided by some officials as well. And this traffic situation causes people a lot of money, and a lot of people who refuses to go into the city center just because of the traffic situation. So it's very important for people to appreciate the fact that when you are riding a car, it doesn't mean that you can park anywhere, and individuals who own private vehicles come into the city center. You want to buy something, there are many on-street and off-street parking places. They won't go and park there. They would like to drive onto the shoulders of the road, prevent pedestrians to walk on it. But he thinks that if a trader is selling on that pedestrian walkway, it's wrong. But he can park his car there, and it's never wrong to buy something and go away. The notion of the poor do not have a voice in this country, I do not think that it is well and it is good for all of us. So people should just appreciate. To give you examples of off-street parking locations, if you come to Accra Central itself, the Rawlings Park has a car park capacity of about 400 vehicles. Then you have the another city car park in between former ABSA and Standard Chartered Bank that has a capacity of about 350 vehicles.
That's the one near post offices?
Near post office, right. Yes. Then the SNIT Mall also has a car park capacity of about 300. Just behind my office, the Octagon building has a car park capacity of about 1,500. So I'm talking about off-street car park allocations within the city. Then you have on-street parking locations as well. You buy your car, you pay your insurance, you buy fuel, you drive into the city center, and people do not want to park at authorized places to pay a little bit for the city so that we can also use it to clear the filth in the city. So this is the problem that we are also confronted with. As much as I do not agree with the use of too much force that sometimes leads into very bad sin in the city, I think that continuous education should help us to appreciate the fact that when you own a car and you come into the city center, you pay for it to park. Right. Many of these people have traveled around the world. They are very responsible when they go to London or New York to do all these things. But when they come to Accra, they think that, look, probably the city space is an extension of their garage, and therefore you have to park anywhere. I don't think it is well.
The tollway service thinking that has come up and the discussions with the National Insurance Commission and the possibility of it becoming compulsory, almost compulsory because you buy it literally it's levied on you with your insurance. And what's your thinking about that? Can we get to a stage where we're being forced to pay for tollway service?
Well, at city management without enforcement of discipline will lead to chaos. What government has proposed is a very nice way of still collecting your money, and then when you come into the city center to pay for the towing service, so that when you come into the city center, whatever you come to do, and you do it against the law, you have to take care of it. The law have to take care of you. Yeah. You recall in 2017 when we came into office, the Ministry of Sanitation with the private company Road Safety Management Services wanted to introduce a similar arrangement, right. But the payment mode was different. This time, it's going to be levied on your insurance so that at least government has a dedicated revenue stream to take care of the expenses of the towing services. Because somebody have to pay for it.
Right,
and you have to pay for your indiscipline. That is what is being happening.
Well, you can't punish everybody for one or two people's indiscipline. Surely, if you make something like a tollway service compulsory, there are going to be serious concerns with that, particularly if I'm not part of the indiscipline and I should choose whether or not I want a tollway service. Maybe my mechanic would even get there before the tollway van comes.
Well, this is debatable. The objective of this proposal is to make sure that you have a towing service company that is being paid by the state. And the state is saying that, look, all of us pay for our insurance. And sometimes it is not you. But trust me, somebody might have parked at an authorized place. You may not see it and run into that person.
Right.
So you are paying little to save your own life.
I'm paying insurance to make sure that
my car that's what I'm saying. That you are paying little.
Why don't
a lot of the insurance that you are talking about is third-party insurance.
Yes, but why don't you punish the people who are causing the problem? Why do I have to pay literally a levy?
Yes,
just for being an innocent road user when we have a clear idea of who is causing the problem? I mean, if there's traffic jams and things like that, sometimes it's private vehicles, but most times it's the big trucks. They're the ones who can cause a jam.
Well, it is not only the big trucks. Okay. In fact, to tell you the truth, the small trucks also create a lot of problems in the car. In fact, saloon cars, everybody misbehaving in the city, everybody tries to, look, in Accra, and I am a champion of road safety, so I look at these issues from safety perspective. If government asphalts a road, and I always use the Gifford Road as an example. That's the Bemakam stretch from 37 towards La Palm. And you see the number of vehicles that are on that road. No one is driving within the speed limit. At least 75% of the vehicles that drive on that road, they drive above the speed limit.
Right.
That's a fact.
Is there a sign there that says what the speed limit is?
There are signs everywhere. There are signs everywhere. Check. And we move around from 2019 to now. You will see, because in fact, by law, if you've gone to driving school before you pass, when you are driving within the city center, you can't go beyond 50 kilometers per hour. There's no way you can. When you get into a community or where there's a
developed
congestion
area,
there,
built-up area.
you can't go beyond 30 kilometers per
Yes,
hour.
right.
So you can't go beyond 30 kilometers per hour when you are in the central business district. When you are driving around La Bonnie, La Trade Fair, all these areas, you can't go beyond 50 kilometers per hour. You can only do so when you're on a highway. For instance, you're on the motorway or you're on the Pokwasi stretch. The Pokwasi stretch gives you 80 kilometers per hour maximum. The motorway gives you 100 kilometers per hour maximum. If you are on this Central Road, Awoshi, that stretch,
Okay.
there are speed limits over there. At a point, it tells you go 50 kilometers per hour. Sometimes it tells you 80 kilometers per hour. You can't go beyond 80 because when you are on the highway, within the urban space. So that is how it is designed. So you can't even think about it. And a lot of the accidents that are caused in this country today, in Accra, because I have studied Accra road safety for a long while. In fact, we're doing a project with Bloomberg for the past 4 years. I've gone around the world to even talk about road safety. Road safety. The eighth cause of death in the whole world is about road crashes. So these are things that we need to be talking about. And I'm saying that one of it is people also parking at unauthorized places.
Okay. Honorable, you've been around the world because you're accusing us of being irresponsible drivers. But Honorable, when you went around the world, one of the things you did not find is that the government gets money to maintain its roads from levies on things like tollaways. For example, in the United Kingdom, it's RAC or AA, and it's an optional service for the individual as to whether or not they have a tollway service. Now, I'm going to ask you again, within the metropolis, why would AMA, which was part of the original plan, I believe, have this tollway and impound, which you had, I don't know if you still have it, and just improve the quality of that delivery so that then instead of this experiment where it's compulsory, it becomes compulsory later on because you're about to engage in the experimental tollway service. Why don't you just have it so that you collect your money from the fines that you make from towing people's vehicles away? Isn't that going to be enough?
Unfortunately, in many parts of Europe, the character of their city and the dynamics in their country differs. You can stay in Frankfurt for about 10 years without moving to Düsseldorf or somewhere. Right. Similarly, you can stay in London without going to... But in our system over here, everybody moves to Accra Central in the morning and we exit from Accra Central in the evening. So when you are thinking and planning about city management, you need to think broadly. You don't only look at the residents. Accra has a population of about 2.3 million.
Right.
But during the day, the population increases to 4.5 million. What tells you is that more than 2 million people comes into the city to double your number, and then they exit in the evening. So when you are planning your city, you don't only look at residents, you look at the totality of the population, the dynamics of it, and people come and do their business, whether formal or informal, and going away. So when you design a tax regime, which literally focuses on residents, you miss out about half of the target people that you are looking at. So I'm pretty sure that that's the thinking behind it. Look at the global picture of Accra and probably Ghana as a whole. And what is the character of the city?
Dynamics.
Everybody, people even travel from Amasama to Accra to buy cassava just to go away to go and eat. I mean, that's the future.
Yeah. One of the things you find in most of these cities that you mentioned also, sir, is that the supervisors of the city have decided to create zones where certain types of vehicles, you just don't find them there.
Yeah.
Or if they do so, then they're paying in advance for that privilege. Private users of too many cars, for example, is something they try to limit. In your case, knowing some of your crowded areas in Accra, is there any sort of plan to create what they call red zones on things like that?
I think that in future that will be considered. As we speak now, don't forget, we are still a developing country.
Right.
Even in the city of Accra, there are many roads that are untarred. There are many roads that are inaccessible.
Right.
if we have been able to asphalt all our roads within the city space, then you are giving people alternative routes. That, for instance, if I'm going towards airport and I'm from Accra Central, I might have like more than 10 alternative routes to choose. But everybody now have to move into the main road and to get it choked. So I think that at His Excellency the President have declared this year as a year of routes, and a lot is being done. Is to bring the issue of road to front and center, so that we get a lot of our roads more motorable. In fact, that will release a lot of vehicles onto other roads, so that it can reduce even the traffic situation significantly. The truth of the matter is that because you have fewer roads, everybody wants to drive on the same stretch, and that's what creates the problem. But we live now here in Laboni Cantonment, where all the roads are freer just because the roads are motorable. So you hardly find traffic in this environment. I mean, it's impossible to find traffic in the Laboni Cantonment stretch area. That is why this area is called probably a first-class area. As we move to other locations, the story may be different. And I think that we should do more of the roads. And then we can design a proper zoning system that this side, this is what has to be done, and this side, you can't do much about it. Because transportation is the lifeblood of the city. Movement, it's what brings about the social economic change in the city. So an effective transportation system, it's what we all need in the city. Currently, the focus has been even on only vehicles. What about the other modes of transport? Biking, walking, rail, and all the rest that we are talking about. And I am an advocate of an effective transportation system. So I was very excited when the Ministry of Railways was created. The focus has been on intercity rail. But now there's a lot of also work that has been done behind the scenes for intracity railway. And this is the way you want to go, because there's a proposal to look at it from Accra towards to Medina areas, and all these things that we are talking with underground train. There have been a lot that Honorable Jogate has done, and I'm sure Honorable Amewu will also continue. So once we looked at the intracity rail, I'm sure that will take away a lot of traffic on the road. Currently, as we speak now, 70% of cars that have single occupants in it have taken 70% of the road. And 30% of the large occupancy vehicles have taken 30% of the road. And that's what we want to reverse. That the large occupancy roads, i.e. the buses, the big buses, we should have more to come into the city center rather than the single occupant vehicles like the saloon cars. You see only one person probably and his wife in the vehicle with an air condition, and then you caught up in the traffic and all these things. So an effective transportation system will reduce the traffic, will increase a lot of money into our systems, and then there's a lot that we can benefit out of it.
Right.
So the element of towing, probably the discussion has been brought in to cover a lot of things.
Right.
But it is interconnected. It is not that we are excited to come and tow your car, but it is its effect on the economy and the movement of people in the city. And that's why I have decided to broaden the conversation to cover quite a lot of things.
Yeah, but back to the towing then very quickly before we get Professor Van Jampo involved. He drives, so he'll be impacted by this, whether he likes it or not. Your bylaws on commercial vehicles, it's very clear that every year they're supposed to renew their commercial vehicle. I don't know if it's a commercial vehicle. I wouldn't call it a license, but some sort of permit to be able to drive in Accra.
Yeah.
I mean, how efficient is that going? Because there's an awful lot of commercial vehicles. So you should be making an awful lot of money if all of those vehicles are paying some sort of permit fee to Accra Metropolitan Authority.
Well, that is a fact. The commercial vehicles do pay a token to the assemblies for driving within the city center because a lot of them have terminals. And the terminals are maintained by the city.
Right.
So it is not, if you looked at the cost benefit analysis, it is a pure service that the city is offering and not getting,
not enough to make to work.
anything
Yeah, okay.
significant in return because it's the same city authority that maintains all the terminals in terms of sweeping, the infrastructure, and everything that is being done. So that is not anything at all to write home about. But it is also a safety measure to also know the number of commercial vehicles that are operating within here. And data is important. The biggest problem that we are confronted in this country and city management is about data mining. How do you get a reliable data to inform your decision that you take? When I assumed office in 2017, I had the former mayor of New York who had a tete-a-tete with me at a program and said that you can't take a decision without the data. Every decision that you take, you must be informed by data. The problem we have is lack of data or adequate data to inform decision. So all these efforts that you are putting in is to be able to mine and get proper data. You realize that when we're talking about road safety, I was talking about traffic management. I'm trying as much as possible to tell you data, and that is what is informing, and that gives you the certain direction what you do.
Okay.
So there's a lot of thinking, deep thinking that goes into some of these things.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Prof, I don't know how much you've been listening to, but you're here. You're affected by the vehicle where you drive. You live in, in the Accra environs and not perhaps in the center. There's the plan for a tollway service is going to be, there's a plan to experiment or do the research, basically, get more data by starting the system in Accra and then seeing how it works and then rolling it out nationally. And what's your thinking about that? And just Johnny.
There's a plan for towing service.
Towing service, yes.
So that if your
It will be
vehicle,
offered free for the moment. Is that right, Honorable Mayor? It's supposed to be free during this experimental phase.
Yeah. So it's still at a thinking level.
Right.
The policy has not been fully outlined, but the thinking behind it is that, look, all vehicles pay insurance. So let's put a fee on our insurance so that it can take care of the service that the state wants to offer. Because your argument is that, look, there are people who may be indisciplined. So let's target them directly and collect the money from them. And my counter argument, which I think is what government is thinking, is that it is not only the one who park at an authorized place that is causing problems, but it has an impact also on other people, other road users as well. So let's look at everybody in general so that we can get more money and to pay for it.
Right.
The ultimate objective is that, look, there should be safety on our road, period.
And then we get the funding to do that and then get some cars off the road quickly so that they don't become part of the obstruction, traffic jam build up, and of course the accidents at night when they leave their vehicles parked in dodgy corners. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to a large extent, or to some extent, I would go for the idea that let's have towing services. When vehicles break down, then these are called to come in to tow. And then also when people park at places where they are not supposed to be parking, you can also handle them. But broadly, as a developing country, always trying to do things new and trying to fight to extricate ourselves from the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment. What is the state of, is there any way we can, first of all, reduce the usage of vehicles
In the city center.
In the city center on our roads? I think there are ingenious ways, and then also our leaders who are leading us have all traveled before. I never knew about the expression travel and see until I traveled and I
you
saw
saw.
that others do things differently. And so, what is the state of our railway constructions? The use, we were promised that you're going to have trains commuting here and there and all that. What the last time I traveled around the country, you could see that there was work in progress, but none of the railways that I saw was completed and all that. And so I kept asking myself, is there a minister here? Is there a deputy minister? Are they all being paid? And why is it that the same commitment that we give to free SHS, why can't we extend it? Because the traffic situation in Accra is frustrating. It is a needless dissipation of manpower time. And then also, it is not even healthy. You go through the traffic and you are frustrated, your blood pressure goes up, and all these things undermine productivity of a nation. And so, what are we doing, first of all, to ensure that it no longer becomes even attractive to drive? The mayor has traveled before. I mean, I know elsewhere, you're going to work and then you just drive just a few kilometers to park at a center, and then you go with your train. Haven't they traveled before? Those leading us, let me tell you, when I was schooling in the US, everybody who saw me said, go and help develop your country. Go and help develop your country. But one night I was just lying down in bed, just thinking, all these people who supported my coming here, they've all been here before. My Minister for Education has been here, my Vice Chancellor has been here, my President has been here. They've all seen this. So why the slow-paced approach to bringing about radical transformation in a manner that would ensure that, look, we have tangible things that we can show as having contributed our quota towards national development. So the point is, first of all, can we have an idea? Can we have a blueprint, or can we have an elite consensus and push a certain arrangement that ensures that it is no longer even attractive for us to be driving? I mean, he spoke about HOV lanes, high occupancy vehicle lane. If you go elsewhere, you don't want to be in the traffic, then park and then join public transport, because for them, they don't go to traffic. They have their own lanes that they drive, and within the shortest possible time, you get to your destination. In that way, we will develop, and then we'll also not leave needless ecological footprints, in the air. Pollution is a serious matter in our part of the world, and it is our vehicles also tend to emit fumes and all that, and all these things undermine or affect our health, and then they also affect the environment within which we live. And so I'm saying that yes, it is good. I mean, cars get broken down, in the middle of roads, and now these days people do not even carry triangles, because I'm told that if you put the triangle, on the road, showing that something has happened to your car, before you realize, another person will come for a triangle and use it. And so they prefer to use branches of trees and all that. And these things are not reflective enough. And so people run into parked vehicles, and then lives are lost and all that. People park at unauthorized places, and then they create needless traffic. Go to Madina Zongo Junction. They are doing well, but I'm telling you, Mr. Mayor, the police officers there are still devoting some roads, one part of the road, for vehicles to be parking, and it creates needless traffic on the road. And so if it's supposed to be a road, it should be a road. If it's supposed to be a parking lot, it should be a parking lot. But you cannot also have some of these police officers condoning and allowing some trotters and taxi drivers to be parking on the shoulders of the road, such that it compromises the flow, the free flow of vehicles in that area. If people park there, and you are talking about towing services, they should be towed 1, 2, 3 times, and then it sits in our psyche, and then people want to obey. So you see, the idea is also about rigid enforcement of rules, okay, in a manner that ensures that then people people internalizes the rules. If you enforce it, I like what they are doing there. Now, people are being made to kneel down and to raise their hands. If you decide not to use the footbridge and all that, you have to, in a developing country, the extent for one of the features of every developing country is that you have an ignorant citizenry, ignorant population. And to deal with that ignorant, two things. First of all, there should be sustained sensitization and education. And then secondly, there should be ruthless implementation of the rules.
Okay.
Okay, so if you are talking
Okay,
about
Prof.
towing, then you should tow.
Okay.
If you are talking about towing, then you should also be thinking about how best you can, in the first place, discourage people from driving.
All right.
I would like to thank Prof for his intervention, at least the last 2 points. Seemed to, or he appeared to know the citizenry very well, and he prescribed 2 quick solutions: sustained education and ruthless implementation of the rules. And when you get calls from such noble citizens, it encourages you to do more.
Sorry, were you talking about Prof then?
Yes.
When you said noble citizens?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mr.
I was
Moderator.
clarifying what the Honorable was saying, that's all. You don't worry about it.
You have a problem with me.
At least I share his position, so I have to make him happy as well. So I think that is very important. But you should also appreciate the fact that we are a developing nation. The Akufo-Addo-led government has made railway development an important part of our development paradigm. And as much as what we expected to see, we have not gotten there yet. It's important that we laud it. I had made that point earlier, that government position for the past 4 years had focused on intercity or long-distance railway infrastructure development. And infrastructure development is not off-the-shelf market that you can go and pick at stores. It takes a bit of time in terms of thinking, in terms of looking for finance, and then the actual implementation itself. I believe that this term, the focus is going to be on the intra-city railway development. I want to see something like that, because that will help me. Because when you look at all the modes of transportation, these are the things that when we do, we will take away a lot of vehicles on the road. And also, for the record, I do a lot of climate action programs, and it's to put the issues of emissions in perspective. China emits about 28% of the emissions globally. America does about 14%. The whole of Africa will do 4%. So as much as we are doing quite well, the impact of the climate affects us most, just because we do not have the infrastructure to deal with it. So I share his position that our voice must be heard very loud, although we emit the smallest emissions, but the consequence of the action affects us most in Accra at the moment. Currently, we are burning a lot of fuel, and just because the coast warming has increased in Ghana more. If you looked at the EPA records, they will tell you that from 1960 to now, we have increased by 1%, and that is quite significant in Accra. So we are feeling it more, and there's even migration. There's a climate-induced migration. People are moving from the north to south just because of the climate activities as well. So the issue about road safety, towing of vehicles, and transportation management has multiple benefits. I can tell you that our research shows that in Accra, 46% of our emissions come from waste. 23% comes from transportation, the fumes that comes out. So if Prof is driving his car and it's producing a lot of emissions as well. So there's a lot that we will benefit from this, and we have to communicate it very well, that it is not just about instilling discipline. It's about saving lives as well. It's about saving lives. This year, the quarter of 2021, the number of road crashes had increased compared to last year. And we discuss these matters like we are discussing lotto numbers, figures. We are not looking at its impact on lives, the social, economic lives of all our people. And I think that that is the angle that we are looking at. I support the government for introducing this levy that will save all of us our lives.
Right. Okay. Thanks. I think that we got a fair response, but before we go into other matters, I'm just going to ask. I mean, we've had so many different plans. There's so many thought processes, and intelligent people have spoken about this challenges of the road network, the Accra problem, over many, 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 many years. You know, Ghana is noted for not doing things in time. In 1887, Ekem Ferguson told us that Keta would be submerged. We did nothing about it. What happened? Keta was submerged. That's how we are. What's going to be different this time?
Well, if you're talking about sea rights, it's all...
No, I'm just talking really more about that the things that we know about, the systems, but we want to do this, we're going to do this. Will we actually do it, or will we just talk about it?
I can be blunt about it, and I'm sure Prof. Will talk more about the kind of political system we are practicing. For me, it's a major problem, and that's why I subscribed to President Kufuor's proposal when he was about exiting, that look, we should increase the length of time for a president.
Okay.
You come into office for your first year, you enjoy some praises and grace period, everybody. So that's what you'll be thinking. Your second year, you put things in place and you start. By your third year, you start feeling the heat. By the middle of the third year, the discourse has changed to MPP NDC, and you want to stay in office. So you are unable to focus on the more progressive and intelligent matters. You are being drifted into a discourse of MPP NDC shouting match.
Right, but that's your
and
fault.
That drowns it. Let me tell you this.
No, but that's your fault. Get on with the job. Why are you getting into the arguments?
Unfortunately, some of these discourse does not help. And that's why I said I will yield a lot to also Prof. Tudi. When the typical Ghanaian is going to cast his vote, on what basis does he cast his vote? And that's what those of us who are politicians looking for political power will also have to think through about it. I was so excited, double excited, when His Excellency the President was still fighting the Galamsey matter in his first term, because it has a huge political backlash. I said I've spent some time in the Central and Western region, observing Galamsey matters, and that cost us a lot in those areas, because the people who are doing the Galamsey were also being promised by the other party that, look, when we come, we will free you to go and do your own thing. Where do you think they will go and vote? They will go and cast their vote for them as well. But we are not discussing the matter within the context of environmental pollution, within the context of damaging our water bodies, within the context of its impact on our health. That is not the way we were discussing the matters.
Okay.
So partisan political matters cloud all the good judgment and thinking that we have.
So
and then you are drifted into something different.
So in conclusion,
unfortunately, our structures also are not strong enough that, look, in the developed world, when you go to America and the rest, and as much as you will see probably a political leader who is digressing, but the structures are there and they are working.
Okay.
And that would, unfortunately, our structures are not strong and resilient enough also to be able to meet the challenges of our time.
So in conclusion, there's a determination to get it right this time.
There is, and
right.
and it will happen as well when I hear the very loud voices noble voices like what I heard this morning, supportive of some actions throughout
Prof.
the tenure.
We've talked about the traffic system. I just want to end with this question. That's why I'm asking it. Are we convicted in any way that this time round we're going to get it right? That the tollway systems, the possible levies and all these things will make that final, improvement to the traffic network, the traffic pollution, everything that's going on in Accra, that enough is going to be done this time around?
The challenge is that we will not have all the resources, we will not have all the time to do these things. My problem has always been that politicians promise heaven, knowing that they cannot give anything. I mean, given the limited resources and then also the lack of limited time that they have at their disposal. In the lead up to electioneering campaign, you see the number of promises that they make. So why do you want to promise everything when you know that you can't do all the things? Or why do you want to promise everything when you end up just pussyfooting the kind, just scratching the surface of the kinds of things you say you want to be doing? And so there are so many problems confronting developing countries, particularly Ghana. And so why don't you just identify four key areas that you want to focus all your energy on?
The question is going to be,
and deal with them.
The question is going to be, how do I prioritize? What's not important?
Well, so you are a leader. You must think and see which one is in the best interest of. That's why we have politics. Politics is just about decision making. That's how come David Easton defined politics as authoritative allocation of values. The simple explanation is that, you see, human needs and wants are insatiable, okay? And we don't have all resources to satisfy all these needs. And so it is up to the politician to prioritize, to decide that you need all these, but I can give A, B, C, given the limited resources and then the time that I have. So my point is that Rollins could have promised just about four things. Looking at what we need, just get them fixed, get out of the scene. President Kufuor came, four things: do it and do it well, get out of the scene. John Mahama came, or Atamel's John Mahama came. They promised just about four key areas that they can intervene. They intervened, they did it with their soul and passion. They got out of the scene. Let Akufo-Addo also focus on 5 key areas of need to Ghanaians, and then you handle. That's the reason why you have so many projects and programs that are still ongoing, and some of them we know that they would not even be completed before by the time the tenure of this second administration, the second tenure of President Akufo-Addo, expires. They will not be completed, and another leader will come. And because we are also plagued with the challenge of policy discontinuities, they will come and they will not also focus there. So we are always starting anew. We are always scratching the surfaces of problems that confront us, and it shows that we are not serious.
Okay.
So my point is that let those who are looking for power be candid with the electorate. Let them know that, look, electorates, you have so many needs, but I have a limited time of 4 years, and then we have limited resources. And so when I come, my first term, I'll give you free SHS, and I'll make sure that your power supply is stable. I'll make sure that the railways are adequately constructed, and then we are networked in terms of rail line. And then I'll make sure that we have let's say, if you like, we have the National Health Insurance Scheme is working very well. I'll do these 4 terms, projects within the period of 4 years. Now, when I'm done with these things, and if you think that I'm trustworthy, I was able to go according to my promise, I was able to meet what I told you I'll be meeting, or I was able to meet my target, then you may think about giving me another term. In the second term that you give, I would also concentrate on just 4 key areas of your life. So if we do that, and then we put our soul in the implementation process, at the end of the day, we would have quality development.
Okay, Prof.
But what we have is that you promise 100 projects, knowing very well that in trying to do them, you may just be scratching. That's how come our railway construction, is where it's. I'm not sure whether Peter Amewu would be able to complete within the period of 4 years. But the point is, if it had been only railway and free SHS and power, ensuring that our power stability, our power system is stable, I'm sure they would have been able to do it and do it well. So let us focus on few, get them done, rather than focusing on
Prof.
all and not being able to do them all, and we'll be scratching the surface.
Prof, do you remember the question I asked? It's because the Honorable Mayor decided to get into other things. That's why the original question is, I'm going to ask you though.
I've not deviated, I'll tell you.
It's a yes. Now it's going to be a yes or no answer because I have to move to other subjects.
But you can deduce my answer from my
from what you said.
From what I've said.
Yes.
I'm telling you that it's a no, because you promised so many things.
Now is
It's 8 minutes past 9 o'clock here on the Assassin Breakfast Show. We're talking about various issues. We were tackling something that came up. Came up as a experimental to see whether or not this will be the one. That is the management of the road network in Accra, as using it as a test case for a wider deployment of a national tollway service if that becomes if it's successful. And of course, unfortunately, the Honourable Mayor, well, fortunately, unfortunately, will have to somehow supervise it because it's within his bailiwick, as they say. So anyway, that's why we brought it up, and then whether or not we can confidently assume that this will start to create a better, more sane Accra in terms of traffic. We hope so. Anyway, let's move on. Nanea, what do you think? Are we going to get an improvement? Would this make not by itself, but as part of the overall strategy? Will it work?
Well, it's a good first strategy to think that you have to get the city moving again, and what do you need to do to remove the impediments to movement, to ensure not only the physical movement of people, but as Mr. Mayor described it, also the movements of money, which are so important, movements of goods and services. So yes, I know that for individual drivers it remains a hugely contentious point about, kind of the whole idea of another levy. But if it's for a very useful purpose that is aiding their movement around town, and we were saying this in the newspaper review section, we know just anecdotally from our guests in this studio the difference that the targeted actions at removal of people who are impediments, trading areas that are impediments, have made in the past few weeks to life in Accra. We had Maxwell Akanse-Arthur telling us about the ease with which he negotiated the Medina-Zungo junction. If you can get rid of this problem, particularly as Mohammed Adjei Sowah says, it's a problem that results from not only unscrupulous trotro drivers, just parking in the middle of the road, because they spot a potential passenger,
you have
50
to say
meters.
You like to use nice words. It's not unscrupulous. Parking by heart.
Parking by heart. Yes, the parking by heart thing, which is a corner I have to negotiate whatever hour of the day or night. There's a trotro station very near where I live, and I'm familiar with the syndrome. All hours of day or night, just stop because they see somebody, 100 meters down the road who they might be able to pick up going around the corner, even when they have a full load of passengers, because they might be able to force somebody out and somebody to get in. I don't understand the thinking. So, it is an important thing if we can get ways of getting past this. And all of these are dependent on money, of course, which is the real problem. It is also a way, I think, of helping drivers to become mindful of their own duty to drive responsibly. I think if you're paying a levy and you know that your levy is going towards removing some of these impediments, you might think twice about making an impediment yourself, because it's not just trotro drivers who do this. They're obviously individuals in their lovely saloon cars doing the same thing.
Yeah. We'll be talking to the mayor about other things. I'm just interested to find that there's a law for herbalists in the Accra Metropolitan Authority.
Oh, really?
There's herbalist bylaws, 2017. You have to have a license when they're operating in the city of Accra.
I don't know whether Prof. Jampo would think that is another measure de trop over and above the kind of targeted action he wants to see. But I would be very glad to see fewer herbalists on the streets of Accra. Never mind an STC.
I don't want to get into a discussion about
the bylaws covers everything. It's not to regulate the kind of medicine because you don't have capacity, but you're operating a business and you need to pay your business operating permit.
It's interesting.
That's all.
You have to register with the medical officer of the health of the assembly, etc., etc. It's all.
Prof is looking skeptical.
So there's a lot that is being done. But I think that just a quick one on
neither of you has had a quick one yet.
Just a quick one. Because you see, we are a developing nation, as much as every government has its priority list, there are certain basic services that you can't run away from it. Education, health, because these are areas that either you make it a priority or not. It should be part of the service that you and that takes away a lot also of your resources. Probably what Prof is calling for is that we have to think through properly, as much as there are some basic services that are captured from our national constitution, the directive principles of state policy that enjoins every government to deliver a certain services, and that also takes away a huge chunk of our money. But as a government, by the time you are exiting, you should think about what your legacy, what would the people remember you for.
Okay.
And that's what probably other people struggles to do. But Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I'm sure, have been very forthright in his thinking and his application of resources.
Okay. All right. So, Prof, I'm giving you 1 minute not to respond because he was just addressing some of what you said, but I hope Prof. Jampa won't complain when there are excesses with the use of brute force to maintain law and order at Medina.
No, I have not. In fact, I applaud. In fact,
No.
I stopped. I was going to play football last 3 weeks.
And you know that for 2 weeks running now, you've talked about the fact that you play football. Is it that you want to impress older people like me?
Let me make my point. Why are you now? You are distracted.
He's joining the master's class, the master's class of football.
I stopped just at Medina Zungo Junction. I commended the police, and then they said, "Oh, the MC is here." And so I went to talk to the MC. She said, "I know you. You taught me in 2007." I said, "Great, you are doing a good job." And I saw people who were, whoever said this, I'm sure it's not my student. You see, I teach political institutions. And when you took the central argument of the institutional school of thought also talks about rigid enforcement of rules. And if you are just enforcing the rules, I support you. And so I saw people being made to actually kneel down.
Prof, you know
then they
why
raised
the
their
person
hand.
is asking this question?
Why is
Because you're the same person when we spoke by the elections petition.
Yes.
You said that, the judges sitting on the bench should look at the political circumstance when
And
making the decision. So they shouldn't apply rigid rules for judging an elections petition, but they should when it comes to traffic offences.
Well, that's not the case. You see,
I'm going to take a break when I come back. That's me. I want that.
Can I clarify?
That's where it came from.
No, so Bayun, let me clarify.
No, we're going for a break.
but
When
no.
we come back, we can clarify.
You are being unfair.
Yes, I know.
You know.
Yes, I'm
You
applying the
are-
rigid rules.
You are an impartial. You are a partial judge. A partial host.
Respond.
He's applying the rules.
Back in a minute. Prof, I know what you want to talk about is that there's a lot more danger in not having some temperance when you're doing those things than there is in a traffic offense. That's
It is just like that. Comparing the Supreme Court election petition hearing what took place to what is happening in Medina, they are two different things.
Exactly.
Okay, they are two different things.
Yes.
But I insist that where people have gone on demonstration and forced government to construct toll booths, foot bridges, and then where these same people are now no longer using the foot bridges that have been constructed with resources, and where those who championed the demonstration are now quiet, they are not educating the people that we were the ones who organized you, that we should go on demonstration for the construction of these food bridges. Now they have been constructed, and so use them. And where now people are now being knocked down by cars, and now if you are knocked down by a car, you keep quiet. You can't even complain because you know
what you're doing wrong. Yeah. So you can't even blame
if
anybody.
you want to
for
resolve such a situation, look, you require ruthless implementation of the rules. And I commend what is going on there. But Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
tomorrow past there, I'm saying that they are still allowing some trotters to be parking on the stretch of the road. And that is also causing traffic.
For Gamali, your question has been
let
answered?
me
we're going for a
comment.
break now.
Let me commend the dynamic leadership also of the regional minister, who has also injected some enthusiasm, some seriousness in the work that.
Yes,
we are
Henry
doing.
Cote, I
Okay.
think
so.
he's
Right.
he's doing well. I think he's an
Town Hall Talk on Asasi Radio 99.5. Informed questioning, researched analysis, issues-based discourse, and insightful conversations with leadership. Town Hall Talk is on Fridays from 5 p.m. on Asasi Radio 99.5. From public, private to corporate, academia and technocrats, Kofi Adjei puts authority to text and query and assesses Ghana through all forms of leadership. Town Hall Talk with Kofi Adjei is also streamed live on asasiradio.com and on Facebook at Asasi Radio 99.5. You can join the conversation on all social media, Asasi Radio 99.5, and on WhatsApp 020-0000-995. Town Hall Talk, where the voices of our land highlight the topics that matter to you.
To be a leader in one's field takes a lot of sacrifice, discipline, hard work, and smart thinking. It is a world of legacies that would be kings and queens. They have journeyed through times and seasons, faced challenges and obstacles, and through it all, they have come out stronger and better. With them, they have carried the African spirit and brought to life the African dream of greatness for discoveries and great strides they have made. In a world where the African may not naturally be the first option, what has aided them in breaking boundaries and stereotypes? Sunday night, 7 p.m. on an exciting journey of revelation for great conversations with leading Africans. Only on Asasi Radio 99.5.
Is our country being governed by national interest policies or on false populism? Are these policies being implemented indeed for the people? Are our leaders living up to the duties of their respective offices? And do they pay attention to the generation they call future leaders? These questions and their like are those that we find answers to on your Sunday evening current affairs show, Candid Voice. On Candid Voice, we talk facts and we speak truth to power. Join me, Benjamin Afeado, this and every Sunday at 8 p.m. on Asasi Radio 99.5 MHz with my panel of young voices as we discuss the matters that matter to you. Candid Voice, as it is.
Radio 99.5.
Welcome back, and we still have the our two guests in the studio. I'm surprised, I thought they would have run away. Well, they're here. Mayor Mohammed Adjei Sowah, as mayor of Accra and leading member of the New Patriotic Party, and Professor Ransford Edward Van Jampo is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. He has other titles, but he likes to try and keep it very simple. I don't know why. Anyway, so there's other issues other than Accra that we would like to touch on today. Of course, a lot has been said over the last few days about what's happening in the NDC. What is happening in the NDC, Nana?
Well, one might well ask. There was the question about what happened at the weekend with what appeared to be two rival meetings. One a partly virtual meeting, but held in Tema, involving some people who would describe themselves as comrades and cadres, if you like, the traditionalists, representing, if you like, soldiers for probity and accountability, defenders of probity and accountability, the principles on which the NDC was set up, and their look at election 2020, where they think that the party is at, and what they would consider the way forward. At the same time, a retreat was taking place in Hull, involving the executive of the party, the flag bearer of the party, and other senior figures, MPs very importantly, in a kind of conflab, where they said they were conducting a review, an organizational review of the NDC and its party structures. So I wanted to ask, perhaps turning to you first, Prof. Would you say that the fact of these two meetings taking place simultaneously, and with some of the individuals involved advertised in relation to both events, claiming that they were either completely unaware of the other event or weren't invited to take part, is that an indication of a continuing power struggle within the NDC, or is it just a case of the natural aftermath of an election and people taking stock?
Well, I mean, I don't even think this is symptomatic of a serious power struggle. One of the distinguishing features of politics is what we call guaranteed disagreement. You would not have everybody or every member of a political organization thinking the same way as you think. Indeed, the day society, people in a society all think alike, there will be no society. And so it is just normal for people to go hold their own meeting, and others would also go hold their retreats and all that. But you see, I'm told that those who were holding a special their own meeting were the cadres, and then the party itself, its top echelons, had also met to review their performance, in the last election. I want to say emphatically that the NDC as a party now can no longer pride itself of having cadres. Who is a cadre? When we talk about the cadres, you're talking about those young men and young women who dedicated themselves in the fight for the revolution, and when the so-called revolution was achieved, they sacrificed themselves to sustaining and supporting the revolution. Now, many of them are aged, many of them are dead and gone. The young party foot soldiers of the NDC are ignorant about even the revolution. They don't even know what it's about. There are so many people, if you are teaching them about Rawlings today, they said, this thing happened in Ghana and all that. They are party supporters, party fanatics, but they don't even know the history of their own party. So don't tell me about revolution. So let Guzitano and co. They have played their role. They've played their part. Okay? They should rest. They should take care of their grandchildren and allow the party to run. I'm told that they are thinking about who may be leading the party, whether it's feasible to for John Mahama to continue to lead the party or not. You see, it would be politically suicidal for them to think of changing John Mahama, the most popular person within the party, next to President Akufo-Addo. And so I don't see why it's a display of a certain selfishness and political infantilism on the part of anybody to want to think about, well, you've held elections and then look at the result that was produced. And so I think that for me it's a non-starter. If they have some money to go on this particular campaign, I think that they should channel that resources to Kolebu, go to renal unit. People want to go through dialysis, there are no machines. They should help to support the system to work. But whatever they do, I mean, we've seen Funka games, we've seen so many splinter groups, coming up from the NDC itself. But the party withstood, and the party still remained resilient and all that. So if they have any resources, I think they either should channel it in improving other sectors of our economy or channel it in improving the fortunes of the party in the next election. But what they are doing, it will be a drop in an ocean if a contest is set out, right now. So I think they are just wasting their time. And I believe that for now, there are no cadres.
Well, I find it interesting, Prof, that you immediately equate the exercise that the party of cadres, comrades, revolutionaries, whatever you want to call them, that they engaged in at Tema. You immediately equate that with a leadership race. They would say that they were asking their specific call, say, amongst certain cadres for presentation of the collated results from the election. They want, this is one of their review exercises, they want to know the outcome of the court case, what it really means, what its significance is. Where was the evidence that the legal party for the petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, was going to present to the court case? What was the basis on which the court case was taken? There's some peripheral movement which does involve questions about the selection of a flag bearer for 2024. But in the case of, say, that particular demand, or say in the case of demands that MPs, the NDC caucus in Parliament, be more accountable to the membership of the party, surely those are legitimate demands that were being made by the people who held that meeting.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that demand. And I've been making those demands myself. In 2016, in the 2016 elections, one of the things that we used to mock the NDC was that it could not even collate its own results. And yet they said they were in a comfortable lead. And it appears when they went to court, the justices were asking, okay, so what's your position? What are your results? What are your figures? And they said they didn't send them to court. And this then created an impression in the minds of people, including their own support base and those who call themselves cadres, that, maybe they did not, this time again, they've done their thing again. They didn't collate independent results. And to that extent, they are asking that, show as the independent results that you collated. And that one, I cannot have qualms with that, because I have always said that they should do some of these things. And then the fact that, or the call for the minority caucus in Parliament, or minority group in Parliament, to also act in a manner responsive to the interests of the party and their constituents. I think we've all been talking about it. I've described the minority group in party as now a group that should never be taken serious, because they will say X and then go and vote in a different direction and all that. We've spoken about some of these. So if this is their only concern, these are their only concern, I support them. But beyond this, I've heard that part of the reasonings and their discussion is to also think about unseating or replacing or determining who should lead the party beyond, apart from John Mahama and other. And I'm saying that if that becomes their prerogative, that becomes their preoccupation, then they may not be acting politically smart.
Sure. So you make it sound as if this is going to build up as the main point, and it's certain to build up as the main point. Mr. Mayor, if I can ask you, I know that this is out of the area of your immediate concern, but you may have a vested interest of some sort in the way this pans out. So should one want to almost take the kind of preemptive action that Prof is taking, that this seems to be the beginnings of a kind of rearguard action from a group of people who, he's not quite used the phrase has-beens, he's far too polite, but they were the cadres as was. They've outlived their usefulness, he seems to suggest.
They don't even exist again. Yeah.
They don't exist.
Some are dead and gone.
Well, I mean, I think
Rollins is gone.
I think the people who were present at the meeting in Tema were real life individuals, were they not? Do they not represent a real organized interest within the NDC, or do you really think that this is just, appealing to the catchphrases of the past?
I think that, okay, so let me move the conversation from the classroom to the realities of what's happening on the ground. I mean, when you have the likes of Dr. Kumbo, Dan Abodakwi, Honorable, Guzitano. Dr. Kumbo is the council of elder of the party. And these are the lead spokespersons of the issues. And you don't want to listen. I think that the NDC should be excited to listen to such voices, because there are indeed challenges in their party and they have to be able to deal with it. Now, there are three key issues that are affecting the NDC currently, and that has caused all these people to stand. And I don't agree when you say there are no cadres. Cadres in the context of the NDC are the vanguards of the philosophy of the party. They are the vanguards of the probity and accountability, and that lives on. It may not just has to be those who started the revolution. And they keep singing, revolution.
Let me.
Very important for you to listen to such voices as well. For me, if you have senior party members who have served in government and party and they are still holding office, and they are not seeing clearly a structure and a succession plan, and it appears that the party is being built on a personality rather than the philosophy that they stand for, and they are speaking against it, it's important they take a step back to look at those issues. Because if Asedun Ketia, Honorable, have been in office as the General Secretary of the party since 2005, up to today, and there is no clear succession plan, it's very important for them to speak out and say that, look, yes, we can admit that the longer you stay in an office, you build experience, but election after election clearly tells us that he has no experience any longer, which is of beneficial to the NDC. How do you go to an election in 2016, 2020, and yet a serious political party like the NDC, which I don't think and I don't believe that they will dissipate, which I don't think that they will go out, they will still be there, but their fortunes and then their support base is waning. That is the problem.
How can you describe it as the NDC as having a waning support base when they achieved a hung parliament?
Everything that we are doing,
when they did achieve a hung parliament.
Everything that we are doing as politicians ends up in the ballot box.
Yes.
So you can have nice speeches, nice talk, it will end up in the ballot box. The result should clearly tell you that your support base is waning. The 2016 and the 2020 election clearly results tells you that look, your base is winning, and I think it's very important.
Mr. Mayor,
don't tickle yourself and laugh,
Mr. Mayor, if I may just say, how could you describe the NDC's fortunes as waning if it increased its representation in Parliament, and if it managed to reduce the size of the presidential majority?
Well, so we're looking at the presidential election results and then the parliamentary results. That's where you are coming in. But I was focusing more on the presidential results. That is where the problem is. And that's why I said that let's move away the conversation from the classroom to the political thought.
Parliament
and
doesn't
that is why Prof himself had to say that, look, he sees this movement as an attempt to bring down John Mahama. I see it as an attempt to cause reform that will help NDC to stand on its feet better. But if they think that this is an attempt to bring down John Mahama, I have a difficulty with it. Because look, when dissenting voice in the party are seen as opposition people, that is where the problem. Democracy is not built like that. You think that Honorable Kumbo, Abodakwi, Guzitano, all of them have not spoken quietly, privately about these matters. They have. But anytime you raise a matter, you are seen as, anti-Mahama. And that is why they think that, look, let's go to the marketplace. Let's go to the public and share, because our reputation is also at stake. We need to defend the philosophy of the NDC. We need to make sure that the NDC move on the path that it will go beyond our lives. And that is what they are doing. And I think that if they do that, it will be of beneficial to the NDC. Fortunately, a lot of the commentaries that I've heard, even from the same NDC, publicly, they have not reacted in a way that they used to attack the likes of Dr. Kumbo and that of Abodapi and Gusitano. They've been talking about, look, this is a house matter. Let's find a way of resolving it. And that's why we are here, and we are also giving an ideas on how they will resolve it. Because as I said, I don't think that the NDC will go away, same as the NPP. NPP and NDC are the strongest party, the pillars upon which the democracy is built in this country. And for that matter, they will stay for long. But your support base is likely to go up or to go down, depending on your actions today or tomorrow. And I think that what is happening in the NDC is a form of a reform that they will go through. The outcome of it will determine whether they will be stronger or weaker. And I think that they should embrace that kind of ideas, the reforms, and don't discard people's with dissenting voices, people who have alternative ideas and they are sharing, and don't build a serious and strong political party on one individual personality. That is where the problem is coming from. The Americans, the Republicans are suffering the same thing when they decided to build the Republican Party on the personality of Donald Trump, their former president.
Well, reluctantly.
Sorry?
Reluctantly.
Well, they suffered at the end of it, and they are still suffering at the end of it because it's a clear departure from their philosophy. It's a clear departure from their principles and values that they hold on. And I think that it's very important you hold it because that's what brings everybody together. Excuse me, people did not join the party because of John Mahama. They joined the party because they believe in the philosophy and ideals of the NDC and that they have good people in NDC that when they come into government, they are going to help build the nation. That is why John Mahama becomes a tool as a leader for them to use. When the party decides to move away from those fundamentals and start to focus on an individual personality that we have to worship, that is the beginning of the problem that they are facing. And there are many people in NDC who think that that cannot be the best way. Similarly, it can't also happen also in NPP. It can't happen in NPP that you build a party around one personality. That cannot happen. So it cuts across. And I think that we are all politicians, that we should learn lessons from it. At the end of the day, we are serving the general public. We are serving Ghanaians as citizens. And as to what we will do to make sure that we protect the interests of this nation. Better for all of us.
Well, Prof. Anjampo, leaving aside the question of whether Mayor Adjei Sowah has been wonderfully selective in what he chose to look at in terms of electoral results, we'll leave that aside. But you would expect him to. He's talking from a partisan political point of view, although he represents all of us.
He's not the right person to be advising the
He represents all of us. He's not the right... Well, you might be surprised. He might have some very useful advice in terms of what the point, the very valid point that he has made, or the points that he has made, that one, you cannot build a whole party around an individual. You cannot hang a party's entire hopes and fortunes around a single individual, especially if that individual may have failed in the previous two elections after having served a term in office. And also that the cadres represent a real interest group within the party. This is not just a murmuring on the sidelines by a raggle-taggle bunch of individuals. You'll get that in any group. You will always get your dissenters. But these are people who actually are at the core of the party that makes it the election-winning machine that it is. You may say Gusitano should go home and look after his grandchildren. Gusitano has also previously been part of a major reform movement within NDC, which some people may argue allowed it to have its electoral win or mark its electoral win in 2008.
I think it will be stretching the argument. It amounts to stretching the argument beyond its limit to argue that anybody who talks about John Mahama and leading the NDC again would, almost be talking about building the party around John Mahama. what were they saying when Jerry Rawlings was there and people had made that same claim that you cannot build the party around Jerry Rawlings? Rawlings is dead and gone. I'm not too sure that we can stretch the argument to that place to the point of saying that you are building you're building the party. What is going on amounts to building the party around John Mahama.
Are the principles espoused by Jerry Rawlings not at the core of what the NDC still does? Is that the point you're making, that it has lost its Rawlingsite ideology? It exists for a different purpose now?
Well, let me complete this point and represent what you're saying. The point is that when Adjei was seeking to lead the MPP, I think he tried on 2 occasions or something. Yeah. And you didn't say that the fact that people supported him meant that you are building the MPP around Adjei. President Nana Akufo-Addo tried, I think, for 8 years and failed. Yeah. And he was brought on several occasions until he won in 2016. It didn't amount to building the MPP around President Akufo-Addo. And so my point is that if somebody becomes a very popular person within the party and he becomes somebody that you can easily market, and so people want to push him, you cannot stretch that movement or that maneuvers to mean that it amounts to building the party, around that one particular individual. And the other bit is that those people who are talking now, in fact, they started talking not today. In fact, Rawlings was doing much of the talking louder, than them. And yet the party in 2016 did without Rawlings. And in 2012, they did without Rawlings, where Rawlings went to support the wife to form another party and openly openly campaigned for national National Democratic Party, the wife's party. In 2016, it was the same thing. And in 2012, Rawlings didn't campaign for them. And so my point is that they have been, if the party has been able to assert itself even beyond Rawlings, then it will not really make sense to me for me to be told that they are trying to build a party around John Mahama, when they could even call, at one point in time, they could look at Rawlings' face and call his bluff. At one point in time, they won the 2012 elections when Rawlings actively campaigned against them. And so if they could not build it around Jerry Rawlings, then you can't tell me that they are trying to build it around John Mahama.
So are you suggesting...
It is the timing and the fact that the man produced an unprecedented election results in the history of Ghana's Fourth Republic. We haven't had it before. When we held elections, a political party won the presidency and couldn't win, at the parliamentary level. It's always been winning at the presidency and winning at the parliamentary level. This is the first time you having a president, a president winning at the presidency and not winning majority, at the parliamentary level.
And this is the parliamentary. Let's get a distinction clear.
What?
Yes.
It is not the president. It is the parliamentary.
What I'm saying.
There's a majority of one.
What I'm saying is that
the distinction is very clear. You have to assign it to the party.
I kept quiet when you.
Oh really? Oh, no. I mean, we had a very.
Even when I wanted to intervene,
don't worry.
So my point is that it's never happened that you held elections and one party never won, the two key important slots.
Are you saying NPP does not have a majority in Parliament?
Is that?
Are you saying the NPP does not have a majority in Parliament?
There's no majority in Parliament. There is 137 seats for the NPP, 137 seats for the NDC.
There's a majority caucus.
There is no, please. Let's not. I mean, these are just semantics that people who want. No, let's not go there. There's 137 seats in MPP for MPP, 137 seats for NDC, and there's one independent candidate. That independent candidate is not an MPP person. If he wants to join MPP, there should be a by-election. But of course, for convenience sake, you can have a ruling that says that now there's no majority subject, there's majority group. He can decide to swing to that group, and then he can decide to swing to the other group too.
Prof. Jampo, may I ask you, if you...
In fact, you asked 2 questions and
yes.
You raised 2 issues. Let me exhaust all the issues. So the point is that if somebody says that we think that given the circumstances, this man must go again or something, it should not be interpreted to mean that you are blowing the party around the person. And the other bit is that You said you are the cadres represent a real interest group within the party. Who was the leader of the cadres? Who was even championing their cause more? It was Jerry Rawlings. And like I said, yes, Jerry Rawlings, in political party organization, you need people, you need following and all that. And so in as much as nobody was acting politically wise to relegate Rawlings to the background, the point must also be made that even when he was not for the party, even up to the time that he died, he had severed serious links with the party, and the party was still thriving. And that tells you that the party was not interested in building itself around Rawlings. And so it is impossible for anybody to tell me that if they could not do that to the founder, then they can do that to John Mahama. I don't think that is the way things are going.
Prof,
it is within their right to raise issues. I said it earlier, and I don't have qualms. If you are saying that provide us with collated results, you don't have. It is within their right, and I fully support that. It is within their right to say that the minority group in parliament must also act responsibly. If they say that, I would support them. But I'm saying that it may not be politically wise for you to be thinking about even who leads the party at this crucial time, and then even thinking about if the matter is about John Mahama, thinking about going to bring in another person that you are now going to market, you are now going to be selling to people.
But that is not the issue.
No, I'm saying that in fact,
Unfortunately, that's what you see. You are setting your own.
No, I'm not doing that.
Sorry.
I told you earlier that beyond these two issues that Nanaya drew my attention, these were some of the issues that were
So let's deal with those issues instead of
you want to deal with those issues. I responded to what I said. You didn't want to deal with those issues.
Let's deal with the issues
responded to what I said, and
instead of the creation of your own issues for us also to look at.
It's not a creation of my own issues.
Because
don't forget, Mr. Mayor, don't forget, without research, I don't eat. So if I begin to articulate some of these issues, they are not a figment of my own imagination.
So you think that? So you think that?
I know what I'm talking about.
Sorry. If we can
You
just
may not
allow,
know, but I know what I'm
if we can
talking
just allow Mohammed Adjei Sowah to respond briefly.
So you think that all this effort being put in by the Kumbo, Abodakpi, Guzitano, who are labeled as rebels, it's geared towards bringing your mama down. But that's not what they have said. In fact, they have raised legitimate issues, which you agree with it. Let us deal with those legitimate issues. But you are thinking for them that, oh, yes, although you are raising these legitimate issues.
I said I'm not thinking for them.
But when we deal with it, it will help to strengthen you and go against your mama. So I will not talk about that one. I don't think that is fair to them. They have raised serious matters. They are saying that, look, how can a serious political party go into a general election, 2016, 2020, and you are unable to present your collated results? We even went to court and went and mesmerized ourselves. And when the judges ask you the same question, where is it? You say you didn't bring it, you don't have it, and why did you come to court? These are issues of interest to all of them. And I'm a stakeholder. As much as you think that I'm not the best person to advise the NDC, it is in my interest as someone who believes in democracy that we should have a very strong opposition like the NDC to stay in the opposition for a long time to put us on our toes. So I would not wish NDC bad. And I've stated right from the beginning that NDC is not going down as much as they may have problems. It will affect the outcome of their results maybe. But that does not mean that the NDC will go extinct. No, I do not believe in that at all. So I think that these are the issues which we think. So where are the collated results?
Where are
the collated results?
Can I intervene in that, because we're rapidly running out of time? And I just wanted to ask about this core thing about, if you like, what seems to be an all-out attempt, just briefly from both of you, to, if you like, quash the question of any potential contender to John Mahama as the flag bearer of the party.
That's part of their politics.
Can I ask you briefly, it's part of their politics. What do you mean by that? That's part of the NDC tradition.
It's part of the general politics that every party, John Mahama is positioning himself to go for an election again.
No, but
so
to the extent that
he has his babies with sharp teeth also around him, that will also back at people all the time. So I don't think there's any problem. But what is my concern is that we should not reduce what is going on to John Mahama, because you see, when you do so, they will go to another election in 2024 and they will not be able to produce their election results, and that will be disastrous. And don't think that a professor who's a researcher like you would allow this thing to go on. So that's my concern. If you are not concerned about that one, then I think that you are wishing the NDC a very bad.
Long before you started talking about this, I was talking about it. I mean, about a month ago, I was talking about that it is. In fact, I supported those who were making those calls. That, in fact, they gave an ultimatum, and some people felt that the ultimatum was too harsh. And I said, no. If you have the results, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? I said, if they have the result, they can produce it in 2 days.
Even when they went to court, they couldn't produce it. How do they bring it to the market?
So may I interrupt a moment? Prof, for you, just again very briefly, is this an indication of nervousness that at this earlier stage in what shouldn't be a race for the flag bearership, we're very far off the point where NDC has to decide that, a sign of nervousness that there is such a vigorous attempt to quash even a whisper of any potential contender to John Mahama? And is it an indication that, as you keep on saying, Rawlings is dead and gone, does that mean that for you his ideas have absolutely no relevance to today's NDC?
Well, I wouldn't say that there is a vigorous attempt to quash every or any other suggestion that goes in a place that there should be somebody also to be considered. I wouldn't say that there's a vigorous attempt. If you listen to me carefully, I said that even though the meeting discussed these core important issues, which I agree to, behind the scenes, latently, there is also a move that is saying that we cannot allow Mahama to go again. I thought that it was politically unwise, or to be politically.
And what's the flip side of it?
Oh, let me finish. You are distracting my thought.
Because the flip side of it is what Nana asked. There's an attempt by John Mahama also to quash every dissenting voice.
So I am thinking that it will be politically wise to keep somebody who is marketed, in the party, so that it becomes easy for you to campaign for. The other bit is whether the ideals of Rawlings are no longer relevant within the party or not. I think that probity, accountability, transparency, and all these things, they are time-tested ideals and values. So they must always remain with any political organization. So I wouldn't say that they are irrelevant, but the point must be made that in every political party, there are guaranteed disagreements, and you cannot have all of them agreeing. But if their agreement and dissent is expressed in a manner that goes against the ultimate and collateral corporate interests of the party, then you have every right to have people also rising up to also kick against those ideals and all that. So the point is, it is not wrong for anybody to think of, let us rethink the candidature of John Mahama again. It's not wrong. But as a political scientist, I would advise that it will be suicidal. You can rethink, and you can, I would not even say that if people strongly feel that they have the right to also contest for the flag bearership position, they should be prevented. I wouldn't say that. But I'm saying that it will be suicidal for them to abandon him completely and to think of a new
that is your view. But the point here is that, you see, we are talking about the probity, accountability. And I'm saying that, and you agree that, look, it is not about the Rawlings. It's about their ideals and the values that they propagated and the NDC stood for.
Who propagated?
The Rawlings. And I'm saying that, but it's not about the persona of Rawlings. But the point here is that they are now living up to those values. You see, they are demanding accountability from leadership. So, in my view, let us focus on that and use your noble voice today.
But we have been saying this all over and over.
And continue
if the party could not produce results in
and continue to demand for the results.
And sorry, they are behaving in a manner that shows that.
And I'm saying that use your noble voice.
Sorry, gentlemen.
And I'm saying that continue. There's no qualms about that.
The point here is that, you see, when you mix the issues and tried to say that,
but you said I'm missing the issue. When I introduced the issue that you thought wasn't the issue, you responded to it. It means that it is an issue.
You said that they are doing so because they are targeting your mama. For me, where it ends is irrelevant. What is important is that has the party got a strong election machinery that can collate its internal resource? That is very important.
Okay, so
the
if
party chairman was
sorry,
in 2016 was the director of elections. Today you are the party chairman. When he was the director for elections, he couldn't collate his resource. You have become the national chairman. You are unable to collect your resource. I see, look at Yeka, I've been there all this while. And the people are demanding for accountability from leadership. Does that want to create a problem for the NDC and it has to be a target to the Obama? I do not think so.
If I may interrupt, gentlemen, and just ask, because we really are in our last legs of this program without even having got anywhere near Galamsey. Kajo is saying I should cut. I want a one-word response from both of you. Yes. In the next 2 years, do you expect a leadership challenge to John Mohammed to emerge? Mohammed Adjei Sowah.
I do, but I do not think that that challenger will overtake John Mahama. Okay. Although eventually John Mahama will still be a field presidential candidate for the NDC in 2020.
Well, that was a multi-word response. Prof. Jampo, do you...
I have no useful comment to add in this direction. I mean, he said it.
Thank you.
You're in agreement. We get consensus.
It's a headline news. Thank you very much.
He said John Mahama is going to lose.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. No, gentlemen. Can I say thank you very much to Mohammed Adjei Sowah, the mayor of Accra, for joining us with that Okay, go on, Broth, just briefly.
What did you say? You said your mama is going to lose their flag bearership. Is that what you're saying?
No, he didn't. He said he did not expect him to be overtaken.
I mean...
And I said that, he's going to lose the 2024 elections, and you agreed with me.
Okay.
Or you are
No, gentlemen, that is a whole other debate, which we would love to. We would love to have this debate, but perhaps we can again continue downstairs over a cup of tea or sobolo or otherwise. But our great thanks to Mohammed Adjei Sowah, the mayor of Accra, for being in the studio with us again, and to Professor Ransford Van Jampo of the University of Ghana. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and we look forward to seeing you again in the studio.
Yeah, and great thanks to Nani. I would like to say thanks to her for being a worthy co-host. But sadly, I cannot.
No, yeah, I thought you might not.
So anyway, do you have anything else? Got anything else to say?
Just buy Goyle higher grade fuels, because they've been tried, tested, proven and accepted over the years. Goyle is good energy. Goyle, yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's the briefest announcement yet. You want to say bye-bye then? It's
bye-bye from me. Have a great weekend.
And bye-bye from me. Take care. Look after yourselves. Yo,